Hey everybody, it's Ed. Today's video is going to focus on the FTD Follow That Dream LP releases from the 1970s. Now, specifically, what I was focusing on is I went to go through my albums today of the FTDs and I was looking for something specific, Raised on Rock, and then I came to the realization that, oh, that's right, they didn't release that one yet on album. They do have it on CD, but not on vinyl. So, for those of you not familiar, FTD is the Follow That Dream label. It is available. You can find it on shopelvis.com or you can find it on shopgraceland.com, the ones that are being, that are available now. There are many that have been released over the past 10, 11 years and unfortunately are out of print, which also unfortunately drives up the prices on the secondary market of it. But the purpose of this video is going to be looking at all of the RCA releases of Elvis Presley from 1970 through 1977 and seeing if there is an FTD counterpart LP for it or if there still needs to be an FTD LP released for it. So again, RCA releases from, we're talking about album releases, studio releases, and live concert as well. We're not looking at Camden LPs, or we're not looking at compilation LPs like Legendary Performer or things like that. All right, but all studio and live albums from the 1970s, 1970 through 1977. So we're going to start with On Stage, February 1970. This is an original RCA pressing on the Origin label. And does this have an FTD release? Certainly does, and here it is. This was from 2013 and 2 LP set. I don't know if you can see the songs, but here we go. So the first one, 1970, does have release. Then we are going to look at Elvis Back in Memphis. This was a 1970 release. This was the remaining songs from the 1969 American Sound studio sessions, and this was a great album. Does this have an FTD release? Yes, it does. Remember when this came out, a lot of people were griping about the picture, and I personally have no problem with it. Again, double LP release, good stuff. This one came out in 2014. All right, and then we have 1970 release of That's the Way It Is. And did this have an FTD release? It certainly did. Great picture. Back cover is extremely similar. A lot more songs. Again, double LP. Alright, then we have one of my favorite albums, which we also just saw. That's the Way It Is. But Elvis Country, I'm 10,000 years old. This is an original press with the original card inside. Oh, sorry, can't see the back. There's the cover. Alright, but did that have an FTD release? Yes, it did. Elvis Country, using a young Elvis picture, showing a picture with his mom and dad as a young boy. And here you have the back. Again, double LP. All right, now we have Elvis Sings the Wonderful World of Christmas. This was a 1971 release. And does this have an FTD release? Well, it does on CD, but it does not have one on LP yet. So here we have our first example of 1970 Elvis album release that has not seen an FTD LP release as of yet. All right, and then we have Love Letters from Elvis. Now, this is an original pressing, US, and the way you can tell an original from a repress is it's the Love Letters from Elvis. All right, you have Love Letters from is all on one line, and then Elvis is under it. The repressings had Love Letters and then from under the Love Letters and then Elvis. So if you have a copy of the LP that has all three words next to each other, that is a first pressing, a genuine first pressing. Anything after that, like I said, it'll just say Love Letters up top and then from and then Elvis. So there you go. All right, but does this have an FTD release? Yes, it does, and I'm actually waiting for it. It is in the mail. It is on its way. So I don't have it to show you yet, but I'll do that in probably my next video because I'm hoping to have it by tomorrow or Tuesday. Let's see what happens. But yes, this does have a release. All right, then We have Elvis Now. Bing. Again, sorry, you're not going to see the back, but is it original pressing? Does that have an FTD release? Yes, it does, and here it is. Elvis Now, and again. And this one was released in 2015. All right, so there you go. Now has a release. Then we have He Touched Me. He Touched Me. Classic, 1972. All right, this one you can see the back. Promotes the other religious albums. This one is still in the shrink. All right, but did that have an FTD release? It did. It's actually a beaut. Good stuff on here. Now, the FTD, the albums focus a lot on mostly outtakes, or maybe masters before they were mixed, undubbed, things like that. But usually very good assortment of things. All right, and then we have Elvis Live at Madison Square Garden. Of course, released in 1972. Just after a week of the concert itself, this saw release, which was, June 10th, 1972. Evening performance was the concert. I believe the album was released June 18th. Now, does this have an FTD release? No, it does not. Does not have an FTD CD nor an LP release. They did release it on Legacy CD, 2 CD set of the afternoon and the evening concert, of course, remastered and all that stuff. But nope, no FTD releases as of now. Then we have Aloha from Hawaii. Does this have an FTD release? No, it doesn't. Again, Sony Legacy release with the rehearsal concert and this show on CD, but nope, no FTD. All right, then we're halfway done. I'm going to look at the Elvis album, or as known as the Fool album. Okay, this was a 1973 release. No, yeah, 1973. Does this have an FTD release? Well, yeah, it does. And here it is. This is the they used the original mock-up of the album where they had Fool directly underneath Elvis's name, and they nixed that. But there you go. This one does have a FTD release. Then, this is the one that got me motivated to make this video, Raised on Rock. This I was looking for on LP. And I'm looking through and I'm like, didn't they release this? And nope, came to the realization that no, they didn't. And I must have been thinking about the Friday Music one. So there you go. But Raised on Rock, for old time's sake, you already know the answer. This does not have an FTD LP release as of yet. CD is out there, but not the LP. All right. And we have Good Times, 1974 release. Yes. And I'm going to do a separate video based on this and Raised on Rock and Promised Land stack sessions. But this is a fine album. I enjoy this album a lot, actually. And again, released in 1974. Does this have an FTD release? Well, yes, it does. It was one of the earlier ones. This one actually came out in 2010. So I think this was like the fifth one actually, that they released. So right now, if you try and get this album, it's astronomical in price. I haven't seen it go less than $300 recently. It's just ridiculous. I've seen it even go much higher, so it's pretty crazy. But yeah, here you go, FTD release. All right, and then we have the Recorded Live in Memphis album, 1974, simply titled Elvis, recorded live on stage in Memphis, Graceland. All right, this was a single LP. It is not the full concert, but did FTD release an album of this? Well, guess what? Yes, they did. Double LP. They actually used a picture of Elvis from the show. It says Elvis recorded live on stage in Memphis. Limited 2 LP edition, 180 grams, heavyweight vinyl, DMM copper mastering by Abbey Road Studios. What? That's what they tell you. Must be good, right? All right. Then we have Promised Land. Promised Land, great album. Tan label. Did that have an FTD release? It certainly did. And here it is. And again, another one hard to come by, earlier one. This was 2012, 2012. There you go. But good stuff in here. All right, we're almost at the end. And we have Elvis Today. Elvis Today, of course, my scarf. Then we have, I'm not going to say it. Did that one have an FTD release? Oh, yes, it did. And here it is, Elvis Today. The original session mixes. So all the undub stuff, basically as it was heard in the studio and placed onto tape, are most of the mixes that we have on here, plus some alternate takes as well. Beauty. All right. Then we have from Elvis Presley, Boulevard, Memphis, Tennessee, recorded live. Of course, these were what has become known as the Jungle Room sessions. And this is a 1976 release. And does this have an FTD release? Well, yes and no. Not exactly, because they did release a CD with this exact cover and everything else, and they also released the CD of the album I'm going to show you prior to releasing this album series CD. So as far as an LP goes of the actual album series, no. But what they did do initially was, and this was the third album that was ever released by FTD, and this was released in 2009 still, is the Elvis Presley The Jungle Room Sessions. So this was a 2-disc set, 180 grams, DMM copper mastering, all that good stuff. And yeah, essentially this is a lot of the stuff that was recorded for that album. So there you go. All right, and then last but not least, the last album to come out prior to Elvis Presley's death, we have the Moody Blue LP. This is the blue LP version, as you are going to see. There you go. And has the hype stickers and the shrink on it. This was, of course, released in 1977. So, does FTD have a release for this? And the answer is yes, they do. All right. And this is actually, they did this on clear vinyl. So it's see-through clear vinyl. And they numbered this one as well. So there you go. So the FTDs that have been released, well, you can see there's quite a few. The ones that haven't been released, not as many, all right? But going from my recollection, we need to still get the Elvis Sings the Wonderful World of Christmas. We need Raised on Rock. We need Elvis at Madison Square Garden. Aloha from Hawaii, possibly. And I think that was it. Maybe there was one or two more, escaping my memory, but regardless, that was the focus of this video. So I appreciate you watching. You can leave a comment. Let me know, what, if you like the FTDs, which one you hope they release next. Right now I'm currently waiting on Love Letters, and I'm also waiting on Tickle Me. So those are the two that they said they shipped, but I think they were still waiting to be picked up from the post office, or for the post office, because what's going on with that, but whatever. All right, anyway, we'll leave it at that. I appreciate you watching, and as always, be good to yourselves, good to each other. Take care.